So I first came across this brand at the 2024 Wind-Up Fair, and when I approached the lemonade stand, I knew something was up with this collection. I knew something was different. I saw the two crowns. It looked different from what I normally see in watches, so I had to stop and I had to inspect, and that's when I met a gentleman named Sean Brickell for Edward Christopher. Now, the watches for sure had a nice range of color. It looked fantastic. And when I dived deeper into it, I found out that it was an actual diving watch. It's an actual tool watch, but not in the way that we normally see it. So if you're anything like me, divers are a category of watches that are super popular in your collection. But after a certain point in time, that bezel on the exterior, although it being very attractive, right? Sometimes we can have ceramic, we can have a bunch of colors. There's a bunch of things that go on within it that kind of tie things together for the watch. But I think that you get a little desensitized to having the conventional diver watch and you start to thirst for something a little different. And I think that that's what attracted me to the watch even more so as I gained more knowledge about it. And the fact that the bezel is on the inside of the watch, and when you rotate it, it still clicks, was kind of majestic for me. It was kind of something that sold me on the watch. Now, he only had the prototypes at that time, so he didn't have the click. So I'm really glad that I'm able to have the watch physically now to experience that. Now, the watch is on loan from the blessings of Sean Brickell, but it was actually orchestrated by a gentleman named Ben Watch on Watch Crunch, where he makes these connections with brands and he connects them to the community by sending one of their watches around the world for enthusiasts to experience that watch. And then oftentimes after the fact, it gets sold to charity. So that's pretty cool. So to Sean and Ben, thank you so much for loaning this into the channel for me to take a look at it and letting me put my 2 cents into it overall. So here's the deal. When it comes to dive watch, you kind of think about the bezel, you kind of think about having a screw down crown. Of course, you're expecting there to be water resistance, right? But on this watch, the crown that effectively is the keyless work is only a push-pull crown, and that is going to give you the in-depth idea that water resistance isn't exclusively for screw-down crowns. I think what's more important is the watch's gaskets. Now, the only thing that I can say about the crown here for the keyless works is if it just so happens to get snagged on anything underwater and you have that pressure from that sea, from Mother Nature, you could have a problem. But aside from that, the gaskets are well placed and well utilized within this watch to make it water resistant, and it's only a push-pull crown. And you could still have that functional bezel aspect with the other additional crown whilst underwater, and the 15-minute markers are still on there. So it's completely a functional diving watch. And that's what I think I like the most about the watch in general. I like that it doesn't look like the conventional dive watch. I like it still has that function bezel and it still gives the clicks underneath water. And I believe this is a 60 click internal rotating bezel. Now, what was another thing that really spoke to me about the watch was really the dial and how it was configured. The guilloche with the fume kind of effect on all of the colors in general is something that's different, right? And then again, to go back to that bezel not being on the outside, it effectively opens up the dial. And that allows you to appreciate more things within the dial itself and not getting too distracted from it otherwise. Now, I've been blessed with a 7.25-inch wrist, so I can comfortably wrist watches that are 36 millimeters all the way up to 42 millimeters. And I think that I could probably go even bigger so long as that lug to lug is not having an overspill. I know that that's not the case for everybody, and for some, this may be a little too chunky on the wrist. I don't mind such a thing because for me, it's all in my mood, right? If I'm wanting to wear a smaller watch on wrist, it's just a mood of the day, right? And sometimes I want something to be bigger, and the fact that it is a bigger watch and it is toolish makes it feel manly, makes it feel masculine for sure, but also it covers that kind of mood that I'm in for that day to wrist that type of watch, right? Now, I don't know if those dimensions are going to work for everybody that's out there, but this is very much so a chunky watch. And from the watch head to the actual buckle itself, that's something that I don't normally see. We have a buckle that's pretty much oversized in my opinion, and I'm okay with it. I think it balances out the watch head overall. But it's something to note, and we have to pay close attention to the strap that was chosen for this watch in general, because ultimately it's more of an integrated FKM rubber. Now, it is a thicker material of that FKM, but it's actually pretty supple despite it being very thick. Now, it is integrated, and I removed this from the watch, and what I found was it was slightly difficult to put back into the watch. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to get into it because there is a price point here that we do have to mind. And I think that for most enthusiasts, once you hit a certain threshold, there's an expectation of getting a bracelet and actually getting a high spec bracelet, having quick release, having that on the fly adjustment at the clasp. Those are things that are becoming more of the norm now, and it's going to be valued a lot more so with enthusiasts to have that expectation when it comes to the watch that they're purchasing at a higher price. Now, there are options that I noticed on the website for you to get an adapter for the actual lug attachment, because you're not going to really be able to find any straps to swap out for this unless you have that adapter piece. And once you place that, you would be able to use any other strap that you would normally want to use on the watch itself. But again, I think, not to beat a dead horse, I think that that is kind of playing with fire in my opinion. I think that there should be a bracelet involved at this point, or at least at this price point overall. But I digress. Look, I think that I know why a FKM rubber was chosen ultimately. You want to have all the bases covered, and when you have an FKM strap, you're good for the winter, you're good for the summer and the thermal expansion. It's a little bit more versatile in that aspect as far as making an adjustment, unless you have that on-the-fly adjustment on the bracelet. And I know that when it comes to buying parts and putting things together for your watch, that stuff can get very costly, especially specifically talking about an on-the-fly adjustment to a bracelet. Even though we're seeing it a lot more often, I don't think that it's completely mainstream to where it could be cost effective. So not to say that there aren't watches out there at a price point where you can gain those things from it, just trying to give perspective, I guess, ultimately on the matter. Moving on, the movement. Sellita, we're getting Sellita on here, and we're not getting a ghost date, which I think that was a very intelligent choice moving forward. I think that is something that also tells me that this brand, I like to call these web-based brands, right? Watch enthusiast brands. I think that when you have that kind of detail within a movement, you want to make sure, even though it may be more accessible to get a movement that has a date wheel in it, if you don't have the aperture, it's a lot better, because we are nerdier than the average person putting a watch on our wrist, to not have that ghost wheel date. And then I know that drives people crazy. I don't care so much. I think that I would rather not have the function, not have that ghost date if there isn't an aperture, but that wouldn't be end all be all for me. That would be a minor violation, if you will. But you're going to have that Swiss made movement. It is going to be accurate. It does have that higher production feel to the movement itself when you're winding it and you're setting the time and everything else. So I think ultimately that choice in movement was solid. Another thing that definitely was striking for me was the indexes. Now, when you first look at this, I kind of find it a little bit of an optical illusion. It is outlined in a black liner to the indexes, but it's ultimately a Lume block. And I can tell you this after wearing the watch for a few weeks now, it is thirsty for that solar charge. And this watch in its Lume lights up magnificently. It has a strong charge to it. And even when you have the watch out for a couple of seconds in the sun, and you go into the dark, you're definitely going to see this thing fire up. And that is also important when you're going for the theme of being a dive watch, right? The water resistance, the toolishness for that internal bezel, and then the Lume is something that is kind of expected from divers overall. I think dive watches, for the most part, people want a strong, powerful lume in it. And when you have these Lume blocks, you definitely get that type of feel for it overall. The hands are also to follow with that. I mean, I talked about the indexes, but the hands are actually very, very strong. It was interesting to see him choose a skeletal base for those hands, and then that white base for the second hand to kind of give it sort of a floating kind of effect to it. Not all the way, because the dial is not matching the color to that base, but it gives a light, refreshing feel whilst still being very easy to read the hands at all times. I think that it's very legible. And that's another thing that tool watches need to be, specifically in certain classes more so than other. Regardless, still a dive watch needs to be legible, and this watch is extremely legible. It's majestic because that guilloche with the fume combination, it's not something that's often seen. The colors that are utilized are very vibrant and very specific in the shade that was chosen throughout all of the collection. I mean, it's either for you or it's not for you. And I think it was a good design package overall that was put together for it. Now, the finishing on the case overall is done decently well. I don't come across many web-based brands that don't have a decent finish, and at a certain point it's kind of hard to decipher those kind of levels within them. But I can say that you're not looking at this watch and its finish sideways. I think that it was executed decently well overall. Now, there's a fixed bezel, which I think was a good touch. I'm curious to see what the watch looks like without that fixed bezel, though. I really am. I think that overall it does lean into that conventional diver, and I'm sure that some people even tried to twist it because it's pretty prominent from the case and it actually looks like it's a rotating bezel, but it is fixed. But I'm curious to see what this would have looked like without it. But I'm not mad at it having it be there and done the way that it was overall. Size of the crown matters, right? I always say this. I think that it's not talked about enough. But when you get to the point where you're interacting with a mechanical watch as often as you are, I think the width of the actual crown matters. And I think that the finish actually matters. And with these, I mean, it feels like the crown is gripping back at your finger when you're trying to wind the watch, turn the bezel, and everything else. I like that there's different color coatings on the crowns itself to kind of differentiate which one you're going for when you're underneath the water. That's pretty important, because the last thing you want to do is try to twist the wrong one and maybe pop open the keyless work function while you're underwater. The only thing that I found was it's kind of weird is that when you're looking at this watch head on and when you have more of a light source to the watch, the branding at the 12 o'clock sort of disappears on the dial itself, but I don't really think that that's even a negative thing to say. It's just my observation. I thought I'd mention that as well within the mix while we're talking about it. Perhaps maybe having something applied on there instead of painted on. I mean, if it is applied, and I don't think it is, no. Having something applied for the logo is probably a better approach. I don't know if it was intentional to make it more subtle and make it more disappear into the background as is, but I don't think it would hurt to have something applied. Now, if you were to have an applied logo on this watch, the name definitely needs to be shortened, right? I think that Edward Christopher having that full name plus the logo is a bit much. Maybe you just need that E, or maybe you do an EC logo. It's something to think about. I mean, look, it's not something that was going to deter me per se, but I can see that being a thing for some people that are crucial on the details for logos and how they're placed and what their size is and in the manner and format in which it's applied or put onto the dial itself. But I think overall the text at the bottom of the dial is proportional. It's smaller, it's harder to read. It does have, like, again, that fume effect going from lighter in the middle of the dial to a darker gradient on the outskirts. I think the guilloche also combined with that is what effectively makes the text hard to read. But again, we're splitting hairs, and I think that overall it doesn't matter as much to have that legibility. Like, when are you going to really be reading your dial? It's more about how the watch is performing, in which category it's placed. And if it's placed in a tool watch, then reading the time is something that you need to know. I kind of like how from the first 15 minutes, which, as you guys know, I've mentioned this before, is crucial in diving, right? That usually is the point of reference where people either need to come back up for air or come back up in different levels of their dive to avoid SIDS. But there's no overpowering detail on that bezel on the outside of the dial, and that's my point. It's clean, it's legible, it lets the dial take the spotlight for having those details within it. I find the overall wear experience to the watch is very, very comfortable. I think that Not having that bezel on the outside kind of keeps things compact, keeps things streamlined, a little bit more slim, but it has that wrist presence. It has that very masculine feel to it, in my opinion. At the buckle, it's brushed, it's signed with the company logo. Overall, I'm not mad about it. I mean, I'm going to let you decide if you think that the price point matches the value that you're going to get, because that's the thing. From enthusiast to enthusiast, what we value is going to wildly change and be different, right? That's how we appreciate these watches in our own way and have our own individuality to what we select and what's next for our collection. For me, having something that's different from the other divers would be something of interest. I don't have a guilloche dial. There's just a lot to it, I think. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are overall on it. What do you think about Edward Christopher? What do you think about their first line of watches? I'm excited to see what he's going to do next. I hope that I've established a relationship with Sean, because I think that he's on the right track. I think he's going to come out even stronger for the next line of watches that he's going to bring to us. Something worth mentioning for sure is that the brand takes 10% of its profits and it donates to charity, specifically children and the youth and, troubled teens. I think that that's really honorable, and I think that that is also something to consider, I guess, if you're almost at that goalpost line to make the purchase of the watch. Now, if you guys are interested in a full in-depth background on the company itself, I actually did a live where I gave all of the information on how the brand was inspired, how it came to be, some of the awards that they've won. So check that live out if you're interested to know more about the company overall. And if you want to support the channel, I'm actually doing membership perks moving forward. I will be doing an additional live. I'm looking to see how I best can add value. You will get perks. You guys can check out what those things are thus far, but I'm looking to see also how I can increase more value for supporting the channel. And all of that is going to go back into the channel. It's the reason why I'm even offering it to you, because I would like to put more into the channel. I would like to get watches to be more accessible. I don't want to just rely on brands loaning me watches. I'd like to purchase watches for the channel for me to touch and feel and give you guys my feedback. And if you like how I do my reviews and you like the content that I put out there for my live streams and everything else, that would be a way to support the channel. And I do appreciate it if you decide to do so. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for spending your most valuable asset, which is time. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one.